One of my favorite things about summertime is the availability of fresh fruit. You go into the grocery store and you can see peaches and nectarines and they smell so good. And one of my favorite things to do with those fruits is very simple, just to make a little crisp or crumble. So I just want to show you real quick how easy this can be and that you don't really need a recipe in order to pull this off. So I have a nectarine here. I'm just going to cut it into wedges. And you could take the skin off if you wanted to, but this skin is so thin that I figure I'd just leave it on for a little contrast in color and just cut around the pit and leave the pit in place and just cut little wedges around. And I already have a few in my bowl here, but I'm going to finish cutting this one up real quick. And then we'll put a few things into it. So what I have is some sugar, just white sugar, and I'm going to put it into taste. Now I like the taste of nectarines. I think they're sweet enough as it is, but a little bit of sugar will bring that flavor up just a little bit. I'm just going to use about a half a cup for about 8 nectarines. Then I'm going to put about a 1/4 cup of cornstarch in here and just mix it all together. Now the cornstarch is going to help it bind. It's going to drink up some of the juices as the nectarines cook, and that's going to make for that nice little rich, thick sauce that you find in a pie or a cobbler. One last thing I want to do is just to add a little bit of spice. But this could be anything you want. It could be cardamom or cinnamon, but I'm going to put just a little bit of powdered ginger in with this here and mix it all up. And believe it or not, our dessert is halfway there at this point. It's just that easy. So what I'll do is I'll take this mixture here and I'll just dish it into my little ramekins. I like to put it into these individual ones because it's a little nicer if you have a rustic dessert to have an individual sized dessert. But you could do a whole cobbler if you wanted to just feed your family. So I'll dish this into here almost all the way to the top, but not quite because we want to save room for that little crisp topping we're going to put on. And I'm going to mix up a little bit of a crumble topping. Now, like I said, you don't really need a recipe for this. This is pretty easy. It's just 1 part of each of these 3 items. I have brown sugar, so 1 part of that brown sugar, 1 part flour, and 1 part of oats. It could be rolled oats or any kind of oats you want. And you just mix this all together. And then I'm going to put a half a part of butter. So what I had here was 1 cup of the 3 items, the flour, the brown sugar, and the oats, and then a half a cup of butter. I may or may not use all the butter, but we'll see. I'll just put it in my mixture here, and we'll mix it around and see what the consistency looks like. I'm just going to take a spoonful and put it on top of each of these ramekins full of fruit, as much or as little as you want. I like to have quite a bit of this myself because I like to have a little bit of the crust with every bite. But you see, I'm just going to spoon it on top. I've got an oven preheated to 350 degrees, and I'll pop these in that oven for about 45 minutes to an hour, and at that point they'll be done and ready to serve. I do like to cool them off a little bit before I serve them, so I may bake these ahead of time before your guests arrive, but just 15-20 minutes of cool down time is sufficient. 45 minutes in the oven and we'll be ready to go. A little vanilla ice cream, maybe a little whipped cream, and you're set.